Wow. Look at this. It's a Drawfee stream.
Drawfee stream?
A Drawfee stream. Wow.
Looks like it's working.
Is this gonna be me?
Hi everybody. I was just making sure the stream was working.
Hi. I'm doing this
solo.
solo.
She's gonna teach you.
I'm doing it solo.
Open your ears and maybe you'll learn something.
Wow. Wow.
Bye everybody.
Bye, Jacob.
Let me know if anything's...
Yeah? Let you know if anything's... Okay. Hey, Jacob?
Yeah.
Could you bring me a tissue just in case Thanks. Hi, everyone. Blender, huh? We're not doing Blender today. That's a Jacob. Thank you. That's old Jacob. I have the Pikmin song stuck in my head right now.
Old Jacob.
That's old Jacob. That's the you from yesterday. We aren't being put in the blender? No, not this day. Not this day. How's everybody doing? It's for the first time in like 2 months pouring in New York, so I'm maximum sleepy. I'm sleepy. Maximum sleepy. I have a blanket on. This is good. This is good times. I hope everyone's ready to learn about interiors. We're gonna make an interior together tonight. I hope you're ready. I'm on a setup that's not my own. We'll figure it out.
Everything okay?
Yeah, it's great.
It's all good?
Yep.
Everybody doing okay? Chat?
Chat, you doing okay?
Chat, you doing okay? You all good? You need anything? Let me know if you need anything, chat.
Hey, chat, if you need anything, you should let Jacob know.
You know.
Yeah, he's very reachable. Also, Olive's asleep right there. In her little box. It's the kind of sleepy day we're having today. Hey, Jacob. They say the audio's good. Yeah, the audio good. We're all doing 100% good, healthy, and no worries.
Do you need me to make the audio worse?
Do you want the audio to be worse, chat?
Is it too good?
Yeah, do you want like I can disconnect my mic a few times.
Do you need me to make your life worse? I can make your life worse if you need me to. Just let me know.
Yeah. Just let Jacob know. Oh, Negapole wants to know if you can peek the mic for a bit.
Mic for a bit?
No, if you can peek the mic.
Oh, peek the mic.
Yeah. Can you like peek the mic?
No, I've already done that bit. I can't do it again.
Damn.
You know we never repeat bits.
No, never once. We've never said a joke again once before. Or twice before. Or 3 times before. I hope everyone's ready to learn about interiors. Jacob does have a nose piercing, yeah. Yeah. Had it for 8 months now, I guess. No, it's almost gonna be a year. That's right. You got your nose piercing when I cut off my hair. It was a big day. It was a big day in the Andrews Lipity household. Okay. So let's talk about backgrounds, specifically interiors. I did a draw class about backgrounds before, but this one's going to be more focused. I do have some repeat slides from my previous presentation because I've been very busy this week. So I apologize, but I think they are still good. we'll go through it, and then at the end I will take questions, and then we'll design a background all together, if that's helpful to anyone. Because I know that like backgrounds can be overwhelming, especially interiors. You think about like all the things that need to go into it, and I think like people start too specifically, and they have to start like broad, and then just like dress it up. Basically, you start off with basic shapes and then throw a bunch of shit in, right? So let's talk about. Keep hitting Jacob's Cintiq. Okay. Background. So again, this is how I think about backgrounds, how I go through it. It may be different for different folks, but you know, here we are. You have me as a teacher, so you're gonna hear my thoughts. How I think about interiors. I think about like what I'm trying to accomplish here. Like if it's an illustration piece versus like I'm setting the scene for a show, like a Draw Detectives, or I'm trying to create a mood, things like that. So you want to start off like really broad. Like what is your piece? Is it a singular standalone piece, or one that you'll have to repeat, or one that someone lives in, or one that's going to be used as like a story element, blah, blah, blah. So as I've written here, would a more simplified background serve the piece better? By simplified, I mean like big shapes, not necessarily getting into like wood grain or, you know, molding or floorboards, you know, little things, pieces of paper, stuff like that. Are we using the background to draw attention to a character, which is also another very viable method. Sometimes for like an illustrative piece, you have like a character and you want the background to like emphasize what that person is doing or point to them or to draw your eye to that person. Is the background being used to tell us something about the person who lives there? So like, let's say you have a character and you're going into their like bedroom for the first time, and you want your audience to know about who they are or who they were. Like, is their bedroom contrasting with what you've been presented with so far? Like, are they like a, you know, big moody goth girl, and then you get to their room and it's like pink unicorns and hearts and things like that, and you're like, oh, is there like contrast, or has this person been like putting on a front, or are they just like a little more complex, blah blah blah. So you know, there's a lot that you can do there. There's also mood. Are you wanting the audience to feel a certain way? So, you know, like I said about the characters before, like drawing your eye to a character, are you trying to make the audience feel a certain way, and you're using the background to sort of emphasize that? And we'll like go through all of these as we go. So a more simplified background, the pros to them are that it can be executed a little more quickly. Can be used to set like a nighttime mood very easily, or like a darkened room mood. And it can be less overwhelming visually for viewers. Like if you're really, again, trying to emphasize like your reaction, like the audience's reaction to a piece. Maybe you don't need to have so many nitty gritty details. You just want like broad strokes. The cons to that is that it can be hard to give details about characters, so it's like a little harder to do like a illustration piece, or I mean, not an illustration piece, it's actually the easiest to do an illustration piece like this. Sorry. It's like, it's hard to do like a setting for a show and something that's more simplified, because you're not giving the audience a lot of information. And if it's done incorrectly, a space can just feel empty. I don't really have an example of that, because I don't like to talk about art that I want to deem as bad, because I think that's like unfair, especially if it's like a piece that I didn't do. That's just mean. That person didn't ask for that critique from me. So I have some examples of some more minimal backgrounds, right? This one, super minimal. And it's a great illustration. This is an illustration by Mark Smith. Very few elements here, very few colors. But you really feel a mood. Like, you're going through it with this guy. And since there aren't too many elements, the things that are there really stand out. So I just thought this was a great piece to kind of showcase a more minimal background. These as well. Another illustration by Mark Smith on the left. Oops, that name is getting cut off by my webcam. Let me move this over. Weep. Oops. There we go. This illustration is done by Catherine Lamb. I love Catherine's pieces. I think they're like wonderful. But again, they're both very moody pieces. And how they were able to like accomplish it without feeling so empty and just like wasting some space is, I mean, the piece on the left has a lot of textures. Like you see some textures in the wall here. You have a lot of textures in the ground. They're not like so stark, like they're not drawn in black, but they are there, and it's just enough so that it gets broken up a little bit without being too distracting. And then Catherine's pieces, what I really like is that her lines are often not that straight in places. Like this whole section where your eye is supposed to be looking has that pop of color, and it's very like measured, right? But then up here, like these lines, I'll draw on this for a second. This is like, you know, these aren't, they have a lot of texture and movement to them. See, like this one's just diagonal. Like there's, again, like texture, like there's texture in this window here. And there's like these lines that break it up. So it just makes it a little more interesting. There's also like this, but nothing like stands out so much on their own that it is distracting. It's like well blended and it seems simple, but the execution is like really well thought out. Someone says, I'm looking at the Draw Detectives wiki and perusing the backgrounds. I'm curious, parentheses, if/when it becomes relevant to the class, how the rooms were chosen and designed for the characters within. That's a good question. I think I'm going to hold that for the end, but do remind me if I forget, because I've been very distracted lately. Questions keep slipping my mind. But that's a great question. I'll try to remember that for the end. Because there's not that many slides today. I wanted to focus on, like, you know, execution a little bit more since I've gone through backgrounds in another class. These are minimal backgrounds that help emphasize a character or help you focus on a character, and I really love these pieces. This name got cut off again. So the piece on the left is by Pardo. Really like it. Because of this bright color surrounded by so much darkness, you really focus in on the character. And there, again, there's so much mood, like because you are, you know, several rooms away, like there's this, like clearly there's a hallway. There's this, like you are at a distance from this person just watching them, and you get that feeling of like, ooh, this person's like really in thought, like so much in thought that they haven't noticed you yet. And that's like, oops, that's so, like it just works so well. I love that. I don't know. I love how that gets accomplished here. This piece on the right is an illustration by Adelia Calderova. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing any names. But I really like it because there's so many things that are working well together. There's, you know, this bright space being right in the center, drawing your attention to this character, but then, you know, it's met with like stark black color here. And the fact that he's like going through something, you know, he's staring at a monster himself in the reflection. But then also the room is skewed. And again, there's not that many things going on, but the things that are there are really, really well executed. There's really nice textures here to give you that grimy feeling that really adds to that like something is amiss feeling to this piece. I love the dropped paper towels here. You know, they're not like doing too much. There's not like a lot of things are being cheated. Like this, like if the light source is here, like this can probably be dark. Like technically it would probably be darker. This would probably be even darker somehow. But they're like skirting some realism enough where you don't really notice, but because it's executed so well, really lend itself well to the piece. So I don't know, these two pieces, I just really like them. Yeah, the Dutch angle. You don't like need a lot in your background. You don't need like this person, like so many, you could have done like the counter ends here and then you see the, you know, the bottoms of the sinks and then you have the piping. They were like, we don't need that. That's not gonna help with the setting. It's not gonna help with the mood. It's just like going to distract you. They just let it be enough details where you go, oh, this is like a public restroom I've been in, right? Like you could picture it like at a train station or something. It's really effective. Here's what I think about when dressing a background to tell the story of a specific character. And this kind of leads into Ryan's question from earlier. But if it's important to the story, like what state of mind is this character in? Like, let's say you are writing a mystery, and this is not a clue for Draw Detectives. I'm making this up as I go. Let's say you have a mystery, and the mystery is like a person is missing, and you've learned like about this character through word of mouth, through other characters, and then you get to investigate now that person's like apartment, right? There's a bug. You get to investigate that person's apartment where supposedly they were like kidnapped from, right? You could see like what state of mind were they in? Were they looking for something frantically? Like everything is thrown all over the place? Or was it like very clean, but then like there was a fight and a scuffle happened? Or were they like robbed and then that person like ran away to get to someplace safer, so their like electronics are missing or whatever, and things are just kind of like thrown about? Or, you know, did they just leave so the place is like very pristine? Or maybe they didn't like spend a lot of time in that apartment, so it's like, you know, not the place where they spent most of their time, but then like why were they there? So you wouldn't have too many personal excuse me, too many personal effects. Like you wouldn't have like family photos on the wall. Or is this a place where they spent a lot of time? So you would have like personal effects on the wall. You would have a lot of clutter if they're like spending a lot of time there. Like if they're spending more time than not there, like they would have so many activities to do. So there's like so many things you can tell about a character without having to physically, like literally tell your audience. Yeah, what are you trying to teach the audience about this character? That goes through what I said. What would this person have? Like, if this is a setting that they lived in, what would this person have? What would they treasure? What would they have that's important to them? What do they use a lot? What has a lot of wear and tear? What's like practically the thing that they use the most? So it would be like close by, or, you know, whatever. Are they a cluttered kind of person, a neat person, etc.? So I have some examples. I went with a lot of Disney inspired backgrounds because those are very accessible to find. And they are really well thought out. They're thought out, you know, similarly to that. So this shows like a state of mind of Beast, which is like, he ain't doing so hot. So everything's got rips and tears and it's destroyed, etc. I am noticing that there's like a beast carcass, which I never thought about it as a child. I guess Beast went out there. I guess Beast was going out there, killing things and bringing it home and eating it in his room. But you know, this room tells you that he's like mad, that has a disregard for his living space, and you know, doesn't care for his possessions anymore. He doesn't care about anything. Especially when you know that this is like his room. Then it's like, you know, you would never trash your own room unless you were not doing well mentally. So another example, one of my favorites, 101 Dalmatians. I love the backgrounds in 101 Dalmatians. It's beautiful. Highly recommend rewatching that movie just from like an artistic standpoint. The set dressings are always beautiful. So I always forget the main dude's name because I haven't seen 101 Dalmatians in a million years, but I look at the art a lot. But he's kind of like a mess of a human, right? Just in life, he's kind of scattered. So, but like what's important to him are instruments, and he's just kind of like a cluttered Roger. Thank you. He's a cluttered person. So, you know, he has instrument here. It's just like overwhelmingly, like most of this image is musical instruments. You know, this is skewed. He has something hanging here, or it's like a rip in the wall. Like the parts that he has no control over are very straight and pristine, like the railing of the stairs, or like everything that has to do with this apartment are very clean and tight lines that go with the perspective. Olive's here. Hello, Miss Olive. Olive's here. Sorry, I also have a message. Okay. Hi, Miss Olive. Hi, Miss Olive. Okay. Olive's here to slay the bug. I hope so. She's really good at finding the bugs. She's not so good at killing the bugs. That's Joy's deal. Olive finds them, and then she alerts Joy, and then Joy comes and kills them. Anyway, so I really, really like the sort of like aloofness that he treats his apartment with. Everything structurally with his apartment are very clean. Everything he's in control of is like skewed, right? So this like chair's at a weird angle. The pillow's just kind of like thrown on there. This thing's just like shoved in a corner. All of his papers are on the floor. His books are here. His books are just like piled up. He's holding open a book with a bow. Like there's so many good contrasts here to just show that it's not just the style to have all of these like kind of wild and wacky lines. It's like, no, his stuff's just like that beat up. Hi, Olive. Oh my god. Sorry, Olive likes to put her face in my hand so that I pet her, and she's doing that. Let me go to the next one. I also talked about this one in my backgrounds, my other background class, but I really like the backgrounds that are in Turning Red, and there's so many great examples in Turning Red. There's like everything with the house. I love it's such like a immigrant family in America thing. Like they have some things that are very American and some things that are very like from a home country sort of thing, and then it's just like this melding and this wonderful combining that's like beautiful, and they have so many beautiful details. And they have that with her too, but they also have like her personality, her age. So you're learning a lot from her bedroom shot here. You have, if Olive will let me. Hi, Olive. You know, she has culturally, you know, what can we look at? Like these details are not, I would say, strictly American, right? She has this, which is, you know, from her heritage. You know, this again. there's like little touches of, you know, her family and what is part of her. Oh my God. You can see when she gets annoyed with me, she starts hitting me with her tail. If I put my hands away, you'll see her start to smack me. Yep, she's starting to get annoyed that I'm not doing anything. She's trying to be patient. Okay, now she's just leaving. Anyway. So, oh, she's gone butt up. So then you have the fact that she's like a teen girl, right? And one of the things that's important to her character, is that she has a love of like pop boy bands. So she has all these like posters, she has all these like cute stuffed animals, she has things that can be sorry about my cat. She has all these things that say, you know, she's like a tween girl. And I love it. I love that they so thoughtfully were able to teach you so many things about this character so quickly. You know, family is important, but so is her pop music, and she plays an instrument, and she's, you know, her stuff's kind of like all over the place, like you do. Oh my God, this cat. So I thought, okay, I would like to address the question from earlier from Ryan. Thank you again for the question. So, how the rooms were chosen and designed for the characters within. So, season 1, this is less the case because it was a bunch of people that are not from this place that were in a house. So I'm going to kind of skip that as an example. I just kind of like placed them in a room that I felt like would make sense to them personality wise, but there's not like so much connection. Hello, Mia Salif. Like Lara Malasa was in the library because I felt like he'd say, well, you know, if I'm going to be sitting here a long time, I might as well sit and read some books or do some research, some studying. Fontaine would just want to like have like a nice little quiet spot where she could relax. Falcon could be in like a cool room with interesting stuff to look at. You know, things like that. But for season 2, you know, since a lot of those episodes were someone who... Can I help you? She's yeah, Harper was kicked out of the house because she's annoying. Yeah, exactly. But oh my God. But season 2, I had in mind like fun ideas or like fun rooms that I wanted to draw, and then I kind of did like a reverse for that one. I had fun rooms that I wanted to draw, and then I made a character that would fit it, or, you know, rooms that I thought were appropriate to the story, right? Like what would the celestial spear need? I mean, there's a lot of things it would need, so you could go in many directions, but like I wanted to draw something specific. So, but like one that comes to mind is you know what, I'm gonna see if I can find... I'm putting my camera full screen so I can see if I can find the Drawtectives file without like making everything seen. Let's see. I can pull up like the circus one. There we go. So, boop. So we have this. This is just the flat PNG version of the room. But for this one, I did keep in mind that probably when animating, I would have, you know, a character here and then like the crew kind of here. You do like see it for a bit before everyone like walks in. But I did try to keep in mind that like not to put anything like so important in these areas. So I tried to keep the focus here. And so I was trying to keep like, oh, and then, you know, I try to leave the bottom open because some people or a lot of people watch with captions. So I tried to keep this space like kind of unimportant. Try not to like busy it up too much. So I had some elements that I thought were important to the character, like Harvey. So Harvey was a character who was trying like every act in the book to sort of like get the crowd riled up. So like Harvey would probably have a more permanent room. So, you know, it's not like a tent, but I have a few items. So like, I don't know, I thought like a big dice, you would do something with a big dice. You know, a curtain to reveal the big dice. He would have tried to like do the escape underwater. There was something about underwater hot dogs or something. I'm forgetting. You know, one of his acts would have been pulling a rabbit out of the hat, but the rabbit out of the hat, I wanted to make it like be doing something always. Like it was kind of unimportant, his contribution. Bye, Olive. To the magic hat, it was magic on its own. You know, just like a box that someone could be cut in half, or playing cards just like exploded all over the place because he's kind of hectic. And then in his character design, there are like cards stuffed in at random spots. Like he's just been, you know, causing chaos. A big card, you know, a magic staff that probably like, you know, balloons up to flowers. So I really just thought about like what he had been going through recently and like how long has he been here theoretically. So it's enough that these acts have gotten old and he's had to go for new things. His bird doesn't even live here. You know, you have this mannequin that would technically be too big, like the leg would just get, like the pelvis would be here. And then the leg. So I wanted, you know, like an actual teleporting, because there is teleportation magic in this season. The mannequin's other side to be coming out of the other side of the box, or like another box, for another trick. But again, he's been here for so long and he's such a mess that some things are dangling. Like he's been securing it, but now he's just like too lazy to do so. So that's how I like designed Harvey's room. And then I put these like circles because I was thinking about like magic, like, you know, eye illusions, basically, where when you stand in a specific spot, things line up and then like, ooh, nice. Like he's just trying everything. So let me see if I have another good example from season 2. Is there any one specific one you want to see and you want me to talk about? I can talk about... I'm gonna try to open up the Almond All background. Okay, yeah, I got it. So Almond All. This is all in all's. It's so funny because the backgrounds now for this season look pretty different. Anyway, it's just funny for me to go back and look. I wanted something that had that like classic, like seance-y feel because she was older, and you know, you want to start in a place that like people can see it and go like, oh, this is where people get like a tarot reading, or they get like, you know, their dead relatives talk to, stuff like that. And I wanted it to have like a magic, otherworldly sort of feel, while still feeling like a little hokey because she wasn't legit. Not really. So some details that I'd put in. I have these hands that hold up the curtains. They're just like these brass hands, you know. I just thought that would be fun and like kind of magical. And so like there's, you know, there's also that association with like palm reading where you can see the future or someone's life in someone's palm. So I wanted to include some hands. The table has sort of a like celestial view, but like of another world. So you have this like pillar of light in the center, but these circles around it. You have this huge chair to make it like really like the main person so grand. You know, I wanted this like big like signage because also I like just like neon signs in places. I also love just like the signages that happen in places like this. Someone said I just like the architecture, but Joe Bean's cafe is so cute. Did you look up cafe reference or inspo? So yeah, I did. For this place, for Almanal, and I'll pull up Joe Bean's as well, actually. Give me 1 second. I knew like basically I wanted like unique spaces, so what I did a lot of the time was that I would look up like for Joe Bean's, I looked up like a bunch of cafes. But then I also wanted it to be in like an old train station. So I looked at like train stations that have been converted into bars to see like how they do it. And because I also really like oh, here it is. There's a box right here. And Olive's been climbing in and out of it. So if you hear a weird scraping, that's her. So this... Oh, I'm missing like a bunch of furniture. There's a bunch of furniture here, I think, right? Anyway. My files are like kind of all over the place in this season. But... So for this, I looked up like an old train station, and then I knew I wanted like a lot of light because I wanted it to be like a breath of fresh air, sort of like oh, you found Jancy, and like, oh, that feels really nice. And also it's so open and warm and sunny, and everything feels like a celebration sort of thing. So, and I wanted it to be cozy and home-like because of where we are in the story, where you feel so uprooted the whole show and you feel so confused, and now you found this like foothold, which is, you know, Jancy. So yeah, I looked up like old train stations that have been converted, like train station pubs. I think I looked at specifically because I really like the feel of like those converted pubs in the UK have a very specific like history to them too. I wanted it to have a lot of history. Wow, this also isn't colored. It's not shaded. Anyway, this must be an old file. But yeah, so yes. She's back. But then, you know, I would like combine researches basically. So I looked up these pubs, and I wanted to find like references of like, you know, for this and this roof, I looked up like, you know, sunrooms, like how those windows look and how that would be constructed and how the light goes through there. And I really liked train station lamps, so I have like, you know, these lamps, and I didn't put hands on the clock because like time isn't real in this place, not really. And I wanted to keep like the old train station charm, so I have like the the ticket booths and, you know, track 1 and track 2. I was looking at like how train stations are labeled, especially older ones. And in New York, we have like Grand Central Station and has this beautiful signage, and then old Penn Station before they destroyed it and made it Madison Square Garden, and now they're starting to remake it. But it used to be this like beautiful place that like kings and queens would travel all over the world to go see because it was such a feat of beautiful architecture. And then again, they destroyed it and made it the horrible underground sewage show that it is. But I looked up references of that. Just because aesthetically I really like it. And so I looked up a lot of Art Deco that would be appropriate for, you know, this time. And I looked up like Art Deco designs, Art Deco architecture, patterns, things like that. And then I wanted to, you know, keep up the sort of like train thought or train process. So I have like all the drinks labeled as like arrivals and then the prices listed as times. You know, I hand wrote everything, obviously. But I thought too that like Jo Beans would take really good care of wherever she worked. This like truly is an old file. Let me see if I can't find a more recent one. I like don't see it. Yeah, so it was kind of like I knew what the story needed and I knew where we were in the story at this point, so I tried to kind of split the difference on, you know, basically like I can't find the other one, by the way, the updated one. Oh, hold up. I might know where it is. Anyway, sorry if you can hear Olive. I like can't remember what episode this is. Hello. Oh, this is Alm. I guess it would be the next episode. Backgrounds. I don't know if you guys can hear Olive purring, but he sure is going. I don't know what these two versions are, but oh, okay. Yeah, I have it. All right. This is where we wound up. You can see that I finished this and I knocked this back a little bit and I finished that. Not too many differences, but let's see. Yeah, I like put a wall back here because I had a better idea of what I wanted back there. I included some silhouettes of people. I made it a little less glowy. I did some signage pretty quickly. You'll see that the current season I made full posters for every single poster that's in the show, and then I just sized them down. In this season 2, I was trying to save myself some time by just like quickly putting something in because I knew people wouldn't be looking at it that much. But yeah, and then, you know, there's some things that there's some really nitty-gritty details that go into some of the backgrounds that I've started to look at, and I want to see, there might be a season 3 spoiler. Well, no, I shouldn't do that. I'll show just the example that's here. Sorry, you're gonna have to wait. But for this background, there's some details. So I wanted the bar to be really, really clean. Like Jo Beans is always keeping the cafe really, really neat and tidy. So this thing would be shiny, 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 very reflective. So like the canisters have some reflection. Oh my god. You know, there's some things are reflected in here, like these frames. Sorry, Olive is upside down and just stretching her legs as far as possible. There's you know, like this is where people order their drinks, so the floor is going to be a little bit more worn down just naturally. Like people's feet kind of wear out the natural, or like the wax that's put on the floors, or the polish or the varnish or whatever you want to call it. Then it gets scuffed and dirty. No matter how much you clean it, it's just going to get wear and tear. So that's where like a lot of activity is, and you'll see that a lot more in the current season of Draw Detectives, the one that's about to start. I thought a lot about like how to show age and things. Little details like that. It's just like little details that I like to put in to especially this season. I was really starting to explore it, and then I really started leaning into it because it's just something I like, and it feels like something that gives a little bit more history to a setting, you know, is to include this wear and tear. I put a lot of like scuffs and staining in walls and things like that. So yeah, so I think about like the setting that's needed for the show, and then how that character who's in charge of or lives there or whatever, or has been interacting with that most recently, Olive, how that person would have affected that setting, right? So like I said, train venue converted into cafe. Joe Beans keeps this place very clean. So that was kind of my thought process. And yeah, there's also some like, you know, some scuffs and staining and things like that, and then just some gentle light, because again, I wanted it to feel very like, oh. Does that help answer your question? Ryan, do you have any initial sketches? Let me see. May have had it in that file I just closed. Well, okay, hold on. I think Joe Beans, I have the original. Let me go to Joe Beans lines. I think I kept a lot of sketches. Is that true? Oh yeah, I did. Okay, so this is gonna be funny. So this was my original file for Joe Beans. I like blocked in generally what I thought after like a bunch of research and gathering pictures and things like that. I generally thought about what I wanted the room to look like. So again, I knew that the team would be like, you know, or if you talk to just Jancy and it's only Jancy on the screen, it would be this whole section that's kind of your focus point, right, for when the character's in. So I wanted the background to sort of be focusing on her, so I chose a 1-point perspective. So I knew like, what do I need for like a train station cafe? I need the train station, I need the counter, I need the doors for people to go out into the patio, you know, all of those things. So I like really quickly blocked in my, oh yeah, you can see my runes. But I used this person as a scale for the perspective for a little bit to like make sure that things were making sense. So I drew one person and I just kept like scaling them up and down. Yeah. So you can see, let me get rid of this. So basically I'll draw this. This is this at 100%. And I scale it down to, or I knock down the, okay, good lord. I knock down the opacity, and then I sketch like kind of on top. I wonder if, are my guides showing up now? On a lot of these files, you can usually see my guidelines that I put in. And I probably deleted some layers of like some trial and error of like getting the angle correctly, but I like generally know what I want the angle to be, and then I just like put a horizon line in, draw some initial box lines to see if I like the angle. My cat's upside down again. And then I do the perspective from there. You okay? Okay, goodbye. So, and I'll go through the whole process with you in a moment when we think of like a character or we think of like a setting that we want to draw. So, yeah. You can see my lines here. And this is after, like, you know, I'll just combine layers. So I'll make like a new layer, and then once I'm sure that works. And I usually go by chunks. So as you saw when I was like clicking them on, you know, I have like the beams so that if I see something I want to fix with them later, I can fix them. And I know easily like which one is which, right? So I'll tend to also work pretty strictly with which colors mean what so that I don't confuse myself. Like usually my sketches are in neon green, which you've seen. And then on top of that, I do, if I'm going straight to like final lines, it's a red, like this kind of red. And then if I'm like trying to do a more refined sketch, I will usually do a blue or a purple. And then I'll do like the final lines in red on top. And this file, it's been a little switcheroonied. But see, you can see some of my measurements. Oh yeah, I was trying to figure out the perspective on the on these guys. You can see it's X amount of spaces between each. So like I drew this one, and then I drew the next one, and I counted like, you know, how many squares is that? So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And blah, blah, blah. And then I just kept going. And then I wanted them to line up with some of the support beams. So every 4. So like on 1 and 4, there would be a support beam. So there's one here, and then there would be one like, you know, basically behind you. Again, that's like very nitty gritty. You don't have to get that specific. I really like it because I love to think about construction, but a lot of people don't think that way. A lot of people can just skip that step and draw something that looks great and doesn't have that much like planning. You can tell where my perspective was. It's right here. Yeah, so that's that file. I wonder if I have the sketch for this one too. I think this one went through some. Let me see. What? What? Girl. Sorry, everyone. Answer him. Lines. Let's see if I have this. Oh, I do. Okay, yeah. So this one's a really good example, I think. This cat. Okay, this one I actually include some reference that I found. So these are the lines. As you can see, it's again in red. But this was like my starting idea, and then I really started to like get more in depth. Sometimes you just need to like jot down the most important part, and then you like move it around, like the thing that you know you want, and then you start like pushing and pulling and moving it, right? I had an idea for a table. This is like one of the reference images that I used. I just found it, I think, on like Pinterest or something. I really liked the sort of like corridor-esque nature. Like this isn't necessarily like a seance room, but it does have like the vibe that I'm looking for, which is like big cozy cushions, sort of like an underground sort of thing. A 1-point perspective. It has those big curtains that I thought were really dramatic and very fun. Yeah, and I used it to sort of like base my room size on, right? So then I started, you know, once I blocked in like a very basic shape, just like the walls of the space, right? Sides, floor, ceiling, back wall. Then I started breaking it up with things. So you can see that I like cut the room in half. So that she's all the way in the back, blah, blah, blah. This is me getting into it. You don't have to get that into it. So here was more of like my refined sketch. Or like, I kept like just percolating on it. What's this? Oh yeah, that's like the rest of the room. So, you know, I was like, you can see like where I started. I started with like, you know, a very basic concept. And then I just wanted it like, I basically had decided that I wanted 2 views of the table, which was like a little bit more work, but I thought really effective and very fun visually. So I had like a sort of punch out of the table and then everyone's sitting at the table. I'm gonna squeeze you so hard, I'm gonna squeeze you like an orange, I'm gonna make some orange juice, even though you are an olive. I think I had a plan for something that would sit here. I think maybe like a little table, but anyway. So then you can see that it like became this. So I think I had plans for posters and I was like, then I'm going to have to draw posters and I don't want to. I don't want to this time. Oh yeah, you can see I started off very basic for the sketch of the couch. Look at that. It's like a concrete couch. But then, you know, you make it a little more comfy and squishy. Make it fit the style a little bit better. Oh yeah, it was a lamp. That's what it is. So yeah. And you know, of course, I would draw the whole table. And something that is a tip if you are on either Clip Studio or Photoshop is that you can make masks. I love masks. Everyone talks about masks. If you don't know what masks are, it's if you go to your layer and you click this circle and a square button. Oh, you can't see it. If you click this circle and a square button, that will make a mask on your layer, and then you will be forced into 2 colors, black and white. Anything that's in the black, you can't see. Anything that's in white, you can see. So, and if you want to know exactly where your mask is, let me put this mask back on. You can hit backslash, and you can see exactly where your mask is sitting. So this thing never shows up. It's just for like you're editing your mask layer. And it's the same thing in Clip Studio as well. It's wonderfully effective, especially if you're making backgrounds and you're like unsure if you want to cover this area or not. Like I wasn't sure about the chairs that I put in, if they were going to be the right size or the right shape or whatever. So I didn't want to completely cover the table yet. So I drew the whole table. You can also see the whole chair here. And then I drew the chairs on their own layer. And I was like, oh yeah, those are fine. And then I had that mask. But it's just so you can like edit, so you're not permanently deleting anything. You can always go back in. Weep. Does that make sense? If it does, if anyone has any questions, please let me know before I get into the next thing, and then we'll design like a character and the backgrounds to go with it. Yeah. Let me know. I'm gonna wait a moment. A little gold carpet, I say. It's fun to go back and view these for me because it's been so long since I've looked at them and I feel like my backgrounds have changed so much. If nobody has any questions, let's think of a setting. What kind of setting would you like me to design today? And then I'll show you through like my whole process. You want like a bedroom, or you want like a closet, or you want a kitchen, a living room. Sorry, I'm getting a bunch of emails right now. I don't know what I'm looking at. Ooh, a witchy kitchen. Witchy kitchen's fun. Witchy kitchen. So, okay. So let's ask ourselves, what kind of, like, let's say we're designing for a show. What kind of witch lives here? Let me go to a color that's not my horrible neon. Okay, so who is the witch? We should ask. What kind of witch lives here? A tired college student? That's fun. Tired. I like tired student. Because that gives us a lot to play with, too. So that's great. Because that leads us to all of the things that a tired student would need. Let's also think about, like, the time frame. Are we thinking fantasy? Or are we thinking today? Are we thinking futuristic? Because they would have, like, books. But then would they have, like, a backpack or a satchel? Would they have a trunk or... Oh, I never finished this other junk. Okay. Urban fantasy I'm seeing. That's fun. I want to break this up into two. Because there's going to be two thoughts here. But... just gonna Google. That's like... Okay. Yeah. Cool. I just wanted to double check. Okay. So that means that they would have like books, but then maybe they would have, and maybe they would have like, you know, some sort of like dagger since they're witchy. But then they would also have like headphones. And we're just like spitballing. We're just getting our brain going. And again, this is how I work. Not a lot, you know, not everyone works this way, and that's totally fine. I just like to think of a bunch of like elements to play with. And we're thinking kitchen too. So things that would be in a kitchen, they could have like a broom, but they would also have like a Roomba. They could have like a cat or pet, which would come with some things. Well, if they're a tired student, what do students? So student, okay, let's do like backpack, maybe. Student also means like especially a tired student, like why are they tired? It's because of tests, studying. Like what are they studying? They're studying witchy things, studying herbs, like herbal remedies. Coffee makers, very, very fun. Coffee maker. They would also have probably like a cauldron. Right? So it's fun to have the juxtaposition of something so modern as a coffee maker, but then also a cauldron. Instant noodles. I really like that. I love that they would like make these like witchy herby remedies that need a lot of like care and knowledge, but then for themselves they're also eating like cup of noodles. Like that's very fun. Okay, so then kitchen, things that just go in a kitchen. Let's like let's like ignore everything we just wrote. Let's ignore everything that's on this left side. Let's think about kitchen. Kitchen is a space where there's like a table, but you know, sometimes that's multi-purpose. Also, I'm sorry I chose to handwrite this instead of typing it out. I just figured it would be better than hearing clackety clackety clack. You need utensils. We would need like a chopping board. We would need like pots and pans. Maybe like a window, fan, like a mat to stand on. We would need, maybe there's like old food. There's like a trash can. Oven, yeah. Recipe books, absolutely. Which is great because we also, again, I said ignore the stuff on the left, but if we have like witchy books and then like Julia Child's like guide to modern French cooking, hilarious. I love that. Yeah, so Xavier says, or Javier, sorry, is this a dorm kitchen or an apartment kitchen? That's a really good question. So that's something we can decide on. Is this like they are living in their own little like studio because they are a student, and a student probably doesn't have the money to have like a huge home, you know, with a huge kitchen. Do we want it to be like a little college thing? Oh, mini fridge, great. Do we want this to be like a small apartment kitchen? Do we want it to be a dorm kitchen? Do we want it to be like their parents' kitchen? Then you have to start considering other characters as well. What do you guys think? What sounds fun to you? This is very fun for me, by the way. I love this kind of stuff, so thanks for going along with me. Studio apartment sounds cute. Okay. I'm just gonna make like a studio apartment kitchen. Small. Okay. That's just like a little side note for us, right? So, love that. So we have like a bunch of ideas swirling in our heads of how we think this is going to look. I also like the idea of like, you know, the herbs. We have to dry out herbs, which means that they're like hanging, right? So I love that. I feel like we have a lot of ideas that are probably floating our heads. As artists, there's just like, we're already thinking of different, ideas, and we're having so many thoughts. So I've Googled like a small dorm kitchen sort of thing. And I do like a lot of these. I have like something specific in my head that I like the idea of, like I think I'm gonna do like small studio kitchen. Because I also I think to make it more visually interesting, I also want like an angle on there instead of just like a lot of studio kitchens are just like one wall. So this one's pretty kind of like, okay, so I've Googled small studio kitchen, right? And this image is brought to us by but then no, this one's great. Well, I don't really like that angle. Whoop. I've opened a web page, which means I've been inundated by ads. So I'm just gonna start throwing down reference of things that I like, right? I like this one. I feel like the angle is fun. We're just using it mostly as perspective, as like a room setup. That's the thing that my brain kind of struggles to grasp onto immediately. Is just like the angle we want to see this room at. This one's also pretty cute. Wow, this kitchen is, how do you use that cabinet? Wowzers. Man, some New York City apartments, the kitchens are a nightmare. Okay, so let's just start with this for now. I think it's good for what we need, right? Because, okay. Then I want like something, I'm picturing like a little table that has like a bunch of stuff. So let's just use this as our base, right? So we want like a wall here, or we'll just use it. And again, maybe we won't stick with this, and I think that's fine. But we're using it to sort of help our brains out with the angles and things like that, right? I'm sorry I work in this atrocious color. Maybe I won't. Maybe I won't for the sake of your eyes. That's better. Okay. So let's kind of try to figure out what the perspective is here. That's pretty good. It's like kind of here, I think. Well, this is like going that way. So the way that I like to figure out perspective is that I will take the pen tool, which you need to have very specific settings on the pen tool to make it do what I'm about to do with it. But you can see the settings up here. You just set it to path. Usually it's on shape, but I like to use it because you can draw a line and you can draw like multiple lines. And then if you hold control, you can drag around the anchor points. And this is how I figure out what, perspective I'm working with. And this place is confusing me. But, this is, oh, it's because some of these things are off. That's okay. And so we're not trying to copy the image exactly, so it doesn't even matter if all of our lines are a little off, because this is just to figure out what angle we're working with and if we like it. So we're generally in this area. So I'm going to put a dot here. I'm going to put a dot here. Go over the path, click the empty space here. And then we'll knock that back a little bit. Again, the quick and dirty way I like to do perspective is I use the pen tool to figure out the angle is. Then if you click and drag, you can bring down some rulers. I already had a guideline on here. Right? So you see these like bright blue things, those are your ruler guides. And it's what I like to use for perspective because then you can have snap on. Not that this wants to snap for some reason. Okay, whatever, we'll just put it there. But even before we get into that like nitty gritty stuff, what we can do is like keep sketching it out basically. So if we want, we can have like this corner here, we'll just eyeball the perspective. I really like this window being here because I feel like to witches it would be kind of important to have like natural connection, especially if you're studying something like herbs, you would want like a natural connection with the sun. I like these cabinets. I feel like they would need so much more of them. So, we can draw a cabinet here. We can keep that cabinet that they have, but then we can have another shelf. We can add some shelves so that we can have, like our books. And this is just the throwing things in, throwing things out, seeing if we like it, seeing what's working for us, seeing what's not. We could have some bottles of different sizes. We can have a bunch of like jars. We can have some like spices too. That's kind of cute because then they're like, modern spice jars. We can have like a little lid here. I really like the idea of like hanging some herbs. We can have like the stove be here. But then also we can have, maybe we have like a space for, we have some, since they're witchy, they're a little more earthy, which means that they're a little more organic. So there's usually some more curves and things. So, maybe some arches would be good. We can have like a cauldron be in this like sort of designated cauldron spot, and it's like hanging like this. And we're not going to draw all the things that we just listed in the step before. And that's fine. I also like to play with the opacity of things so that I can see where they are as a reference, but not let it get too distracting. Tiny medicinal herb shelf in front of the window. Yeah. So like, whoops, wrong layer. So we can like keep this window. We can have like more herbs be here. Maybe since they're like modern, they can have some like, maybe it was like their birthday recently or something. They have some like little pendants. Again, to just like add to sort of like the clutter that you accumulate when you're so busy with school and things and you have all of your college friends. Yeah, so then we have this. I feel like it would go back into the wall because we have that shelf. Spice rack, yeah, we can have that. Maybe we'll have some like jars here too. I also really want to put like a table and then have it be covered in like papers and Like it's kind of cramped in there. But they like sit well, it's a little close, but you know, we have like a stool. We have some papers from school, we have some books, maybe there's like they have a poster from a show they went to. And then what was on the right side? Right, like we have like the sink and the fridge. The fridge is like a good spot to put a bunch of like personal items on. So we could have like, you know, first of all, I want like a handle on this. So then we have like Polaroids, maybe. We have like concert ticket stub or something. We have just like, you know, if this is like a magical New York, we have like one of those magnets that's like a subway station. And then on top of that, maybe you have, because it's like so cramped for space, we would have like some books, or maybe we would have like some of the pots are up here, you know? Maybe we have like a can that's sort of behind that pot. What else? Maybe on the side we have like something like a strainer, you know. But then also we could have something witchy. Like a witchy thing. Cat magnets, yeah, I love that. Oh yeah, maybe their cats like sleeping up here. Maybe they love their cat, so let's lasso the kitty, boost the kitty, put a little bed. We can have like a little rug. You can have like a little corner cabinet. That kind of sucks, but you know, when you need space, you truly use all of your space. Oh yeah, coffee maker we talked about. Make it a little modern. We have something like that. We could have, oh yeah, something to make it more modern too is like outlets and plugs and things. Oh well, that wouldn't be there. Okay. Is this all like making sense? Like how I think about things, or is it like too overwhelming? I never know. Like this sort of like, you know, processing, or like how this process is very me. Someone said mortar and pestle, and I love that. Like, is she using it for herbs or for mole? Who knows? Oh yeah, we could have like the broom kind of closer. Maybe it has like a little thing to hang it up by. Does this all make sense? Or is this like too overwhelming? Is it okay? Have like more shelves. Something's in my eye, of course. Okay, makes sense. Okay, cool. Good. Could have like white wine sort of thing. We could have a shelf that, and you know, and then over here it's like got the packets of ramen. Then in the bowl, like, because she's so tired and she's like a busy student, maybe there's like things in the sink she hasn't gotten around to cleaning yet. There's a bowl and a spoon sticking out of the bowl. Maybe she's got like a loaf of bread here. You know? It's basically like she is a tired student. She's gonna make a lot of mess. She's going to be doing her best with the cramped little space that she has. You have to think about like her activities. Like, yes, she's using this to like practice herbs and medicinal things and like witchcraft. Oh yeah, like runes. We could do runes. But then, you know, it's also like a modern fantasy. So she's gonna have some modern amenities. So like, how do you depict that? There's like more papers. Maybe there's like a pen. Maybe she's like drawing some runes or something, you know. I don't want to draw something stupid because I don't know anything about witchcraft and symbolism and things like that. So here's a guy. I don't want to like whoopsie into drawing something awful. Anyway. And then, you know, maybe this is like what's like a witchy name? Like Cirque University events. She's in that college life. She got like this and that. Like things she has to know for school. Yeah, and then I'm gonna use the mask again to kind of clean up this sketch, just so I know like what lines I'm working with, instead of, you know, getting so overwhelmed by all of the things on my screen, which can very easily happen. We've drawn a lot of stuff. So I like it. I also think there's room to add stuff while we're drawing, and you know, this is just like our starting base of a room, right? Because like I didn't even draw freaking onto the cabinets. And like it's a dorm, so maybe this door is kind of busted, you know? Maybe there's like a spill or... Yeah, I like it. I think it's like really cute. I think it's really effective. And it'll be fun to like play with the colors. But let's do like a refined sketch now. I have to make my reference point a different color. There we go. That's impossible to see, but whatever. Okay, cool. And what's nice is that you can temporarily remove the mask by hitting shift and then clicking the mask itself, and then it just basically like it keeps the mask but it hides it for a moment. So on a new layer, I'm going to draw like a refined sketch of the room. So I'm going to start, I usually start with like the room, and then usually for interiors, it's like the building blocks of the room, and then the big things that I know need to be there, and then like set dressing, right? So like there's the basic shape of the room, that's going to be one layer. The next layer is going to be like the cabinets and the things that we're sure, like the fridge, stuff like that, the window. And then the next layer I put like, you know, the cat magnet and the Polaroids and stuff. So I'm going to pull up this path that I did earlier. Moving around. So this gives us, I'm drawing like a big chunky line so that it's nice and legible for everyone. And if anyone needs me to go over like how I'm doing this perspective stuff with the pen, just let me know. This is like a method that I found in, or like I came up with when I was in high school, and it works for me. And I just haven't changed it since. Okay. I'm gonna call this like base. Then I'm just gonna choose another color so that it's easy to see. Just what is the shortcut for that? So for the pen, or are you talking about the mask? Sorry, because of the delay, it's sometimes hard to see what someone's asking about. Woodle noodles. Just want to let me know what shortcut you'd like me to go over. The perspective lines. Okay, good question. So I use the pen tool. Pen tool is, you click P, pulls up the pen tool. It's right here, just like this thing. If you click and then click, that'll just create a line. If you want to move one of the points, you hold Control. As you can see, it just says Control. And then you click and you can like hold and drag, and it will just move that anchor point. If you're accidentally moving two, you might want to like click it and then move it so that you see that this anchor point's filled in and this one is not. That means that you have this one selected. So this is what I use to do my perspective because it's really good. You can also save a work path. If you go over to, there's a window called Path. If you don't see it, you can get it in the window section. Path, you can see it right there. And you see, once you make your line, like this little work path will show up. And so you can have a save path option, as you can see here. And then you can save it as like center perspective. And then even if you click off of it, you can still go back to it because it's saved. It might have a perspective tool. It's very possible. This was the way that I started doing it, and then it's just the way that works most easily for me. If you're using Clip Studio, you can make your lines straight by holding Shift and like clicking, like in Photoshop. I think there's also a better way of doing it. But if you don't want your lines to be so precise, you can also put your line stabilization at 100. So when you draw a line, it'll autocorrect to be a straight line. So I think there's another way of doing it. I just haven't spent a lot of time in Clip Studio, though I'm probably going to start shifting over there full time. Just perspective is easiest for me to do in Photoshop because of muscle memory. Yeah, does that make sense? Okay, so then let's start is there anything on this layer? What? Oh, that's my perspective. Cool. Okay. So let's start drawing like the stove. So the stove, like if this is the back wall here, then your stove would go like this. And straight down. Okay, whatever. Maybe it's going to be a little more pushed back than I thought, but it's also what happens sometimes. Whoop. Okay. That's off. There we go. There we go. Then we go straight, and then we can go down. Yeah, close enough. Yeah, I mean, this is a little off, so. There we go. And then that's where we like that cabinet. Then we just keep doing it that way. So then that's where the corner would be. And then we line up the line to be like this. And now we have our counters that will break up, into the oven and all of that. How far back would this go? It would go to be about there, which means the back would be there. Great. So, also what you can do is like my neon green sketch, I'll put in a layer so I can just make it all go away at once. Like that. Oops, that's my notes. And then, yeah, let's just keep plugging away at some of our set dressing here. Let's have, I'm just going to go straight to the wall just in case. And then we'll have this cut here. Cool. And then, yeah, we won't see the bottom or the top of these. Then we have our shelves. Make our shelves be flush with the back wall. We'll move that shelf up a little bit, give it a little bit more room. And then I guess actually I should have drawn the bottom. Whoops. Yeah, so if we want it to line up like this, sometimes what I do is I just draw a straight line so that I know all of my shelves are going to line up there. Okay, we go flush so that we're getting up the bottom of the shelf there. And again, this is like just a refined sketch, so it doesn't have to be like perfect. It just has to be like a more, like a clearer idea of what we're looking at. I just looked at my second monitor and this drawing looks insane. I'm sorry I work like this. But I think like when you're in the process, it makes sense. I would like to believe. I'd like to believe. You know what? Let's draw the fridge. Say the fridge is flush with that. Let's do this. You'll see why I switched to the fridge for a moment in a second. Okay. And then we want like, you know, I'm drawing like an older fridge because this is like a dorm again, you know, or like a studio apartment, so everything's going to be a little older, a little more beat up. That about lines up. And then we do another one like this. And another one like this. That way we have like the hinges of the fridge at the bottom of this. Okay. See, it's really like starting to shape up. I mean, it looks like a very boring room, but you're starting to get that. I'm going to make another mask. You're starting to get that like room, you know, that room feel. You're not going to get the personality yet, but we're getting there. Okay. So I'm also trying to like rush the process a little bit because we got 20 minutes left. So if we wanted this like other shelf here, we want it to be a little deep, but not too deep. There we go. We can go up here. Go like this. We line that up. We go like this. So now we have the perspective of like that shelf that's turning the corner a little bit. We can do that again. Let's go up like that just so we can see where the edges are. So this will go to the back here. Then we'll go across. Then we'll go back here. This. Whoop. And move the whole line instead of the singular point. So now we got our shelves. Okay. And then what else do we need to do? We need to break this shelf up to be the cauldron spot. I think I want it to like curve like that so that we get that sort of like organic shape that witchy things tend to have. So let's do like this. Okay. I'm going to zoom for a moment. What you could do too is you could take like the circular shape tool and draw it more. Oh my god, this pot's going to be really square. That's okay. Yeah, it's kind of cute. So it's like sitting in there a little bit. We can do like, since cauldrons and things are important to witches, we can give it a little bit more detail. But we're not going to get too lost in the weeds yet, but I do want to like... Whoops. Maybe we have like a leaf. Just to give it some pizzazz. Okay. We need cabinet doors. We need the sink. We need the window. And then we'll have all the mandatory stuff down. And then we can start filling the space with all of the like organic personalization stuff. So then here's the sink. Great. There's that. Let's put in the doors of this cabinet. You know, maybe they're actually like a little bit lower because there's maybe some like molding up here that gives it a little bit more of an artistic feel, a little bit of a design. Okay, now what the? Go away. Okay, now. Blue. Oh, I'm on erase. That's why. Okay. So I just like to knock it out, knock out the stuff with the mask so it's a little bit easier to read as I'm working on it. Let's do, I almost forgot the window again. Okay. Let's have the window be about that deep because I liked it aesthetically earlier. And then have that shelf come out. Have that perspective. Okay. And then we have like the little windowsill jutting out a little bit. We'll probably want to like extend it because they usually do. And then we have like the window frame. Great. And then there we go. Just going to cheat that a little bit because it might get covered up by a table. Whoops. There we go. That actually makes more sense. Okay. Great. We have the basic building blocks of the room. So now let's pick a different color. And again, this is just how my brain likes to organize it. I like to organize it into different colors. What you could also do is make it the same color as if you lock the transparencies, you can change the color. That's all one color, and then that way you know like the next things you're drawing are the set dressing, right? So let's get into like the fridge. Oh, the fridge, I didn't put doors on it. I mean, handles. Whoops. I'm just gonna freehand this. There we go. Then let's have like a little kitty magnet. I liked that idea a lot. It was very cute. I'm not on the correct eraser. What else we got? I'm also gonna lower the opacity on this whole thing. We can do Polaroid, like I said. We could start to like block in an idea if we want. You know, maybe there's some people. She's wearing like a hat. Got like hair, long hair. And we want like a little magnet to be holding it up. And again, this is just to make the final lining process easier for us. So you put in however much information in a refined sketch that you want. Say she lives off the one train. Felicia said, this is a really helpful class for just pulling ideas out and putting them on paper. I really enjoyed the brainstorming session and then roughing everything in as we thought of it. Yeah, that's exactly. I think in the past, I tried to think of it too much while I was doing it, and then it wouldn't look all that cohesive, or I'd think of an idea later like, oh, I should have done that. And that'll still happen. But this way you get ahead of it a little bit. You get to plan a little bit so that you're wasting a little less time. So you're not like straining yourself so much to, you know, think of everything while you're like, I think like the artistic brain and like the ideation brain are sometimes like two different things to a degree of, it's hard to engage with both of them at the same time. Like sometimes that can be overwhelming. So, by getting the ideation part out, like the brainstorming out, then like once I start visualizing something in my head instead of just getting like completely overwhelmed or feeling like, oh my God, I have to draw a kitchen. That's so many things, you know, instead you're like, let's just like think about the space and the character. And then let's just like we start with a cube. What goes in a kitchen that we know, and then let's just like keep getting more and more detailed as we go. Let's start broad. Let's not like get overwhelmed immediately. I found that I got really overwhelmed in the beginning. So digestible. Yeah, that's a great word for it. it helped me like break things down and not get so overwhelmed immediately. You know, and then we can always have like more pieces of paper. Okay. Then we have, and we still have this perspective. So if we want to draw this coffee maker, we can do that. You know, it's like really shoved in a corner, and it doesn't have to be so exact with the perspective. Like nothing lines up 100%. It has to be like ballpark in perspective so it looks correct. But like this coffee maker, maybe she doesn't shove it perfectly in a corner. Maybe it's like a little skewed, like she was using it. Like you could even pull it out from the wall a little bit. Like she's been so, you know, loaded with coffee basically that she like hasn't even bothered to put it back correctly. Been there. You know, it's still plugged in, by the way. PSA from an electrician's daughter: unplug your coffee makers when you're not using them, because the heating device inside does not have a lot of safety things on it, so it can just explode. If you leave it plugged in, the safeties are not very good. It's how my grandma's kitchen caught fire, because overnight she left her coffee maker plugged in and then it just failed. The safeties failed and it exploded and her kitchen burned down. This was like 5 years ago. It was a new coffee maker too. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm just saying it's a possibility. Got a pot. Handles. Yeah, we have that little pan from earlier. Oh yeah, the books. And like books are different thicknesses and shapes and sizes. So let's remember that. Then maybe she has like a cute little statue thing here. It's like kitty. And then her actual kitty's up here. It would be a little hidden because of the perspective. And then we have the herbs. And a bad habit I have is that I'm like, well, that's not practical, so you want to do it. But people do things that aren't practical all the time. Like having herbs that would block your door all the time would get really frustrating because then you can't use those cabinets. But like, when you got limited space, you got limited space. You got to put stuff where you got to put stuff. So okay, we got some like flowers. Cute. I want to put that rug back, a little mat that she would be using by the sink. It's like a witchy mat, witchy house mat. Okay, I'm gonna do the witch is in. And maybe there's like a little broom or something. Witches are horny about lunar cycle and stuff. Yeah. That's a good point. We could have like this poster be, oh, I should check the perspective on that before I start throwing in lines. The point is that we don't have to think about the perspective anymore. That's why we're doing it in these early steps. In the refined sketch, we can just not have to think about the... We don't have to think about the perspective. We can think about like what we want it to look like. We get the technical brain out of the way. What if it's like this, but then like because it's a kitchen, it's supposed to be like a placemat. Very like wine mom aesthetic. Freaking Home Goods ass thing of like... What's that one that drives me nuts? Oh, the only whining I want to see is in my glass. That's sort of like wine mom shit. Anyway. Yeah, maybe this banner is like a little more in the foreground. It's like flopping over the... Yeah. Cute. Let me erase some of this. Adorable. We'll bring this broom back in too. Setting my table like that from now on. Yeah, you have the full moon in the center and then the little crescent moons on the side with a fork and a knife. Okay. Now let's like keep things clean. Sorry. By knocking some of this stuff out so we can get a better sense of like what we've drawn, what we're looking at, because when you have a bunch of overlapping lines that don't need to be there and won't be there in the final, you can't tell if something is as cluttered as you think it is or if you actually need more. So I just like to make sure I go in and clean up as I go and just keep looking at it. Erase these. Yeah. That's pretty cute so far. And we have so much more space for stuff. So we can have like, we can have our... You know what? Maybe she has like all the spices on like a little Lazy Susan. Okay. I like that. That's cute. And then... But then we have more like jars and things. Maybe she has something in the back here because it's cluttered. We could have... You know what? Maybe we could have some like noodle packets here. Have like a big container of something. You know what? Maybe she has like a dog too, and because her apartment is like so small, she has like the dog leash here, like inside. This is sort of like fill up some of the space too. Tell you a little bit more about this character. Little dog tags. Oh yeah, we wanted some stuff like on the windowsill. Can have like a wine glass. We can have maybe like she made a little stained glass window that's just like leaning against the frame, and we can draw this like maybe it was like a leaf or something. Oh, it's time, huh? Wow. Okay, let me finish cleaning this up, and then, you know, we'll take a big look at it. So I'm just going to put that in a folder, and we'll say refined. Let's just go through the steps of like how we got to this point. Let me get rid of this path. So we came up with an idea. We came up with the challenge of like a witchy kitchen, which I thought was adorable, in a studio apartment, you know, modern fantasy sort of setting. So we broke down like what are the key elements here of a witchy kitchen. We have the two key words, which is witchy, and we have kitchen. What does witchy entail? What does kitchen entail? And we broke those two down separately without consideration of each other. And then once we just like let our brain just like get things out, because if one of your ideas for kitchen was like garbage pail, and then you were like, no, let's just put that outside the room or something, because it's unattractive. No, write it down, because you don't have to draw everything you write down. But if you have your brain hold on to garbage pail or hold on to an idea and you didn't write it down, your brain's going to keep holding on to it until you do something with it, because it's going to say, well, let's not throw it away yet. So just write it down. Write it down so you can make space for your brain to be like seeing the connections between things, like a spice rack and witchy herbs, and like, oh, that's like a lot of fun for like this idea. You know, like let your brain have the space to play by getting all of like the things it wants out. And then look up reference, find like we did, you know, I Googled like small studio kitchen. And because I had these ideas floating in my head from the brainstorming, I found some ideas, or like I had like a general idea of what I wanted the angle to look like, and like what I wanted the setup to look like. And I wanted the, you know, corner kitchen. That was just like a personal preference sort of thing. Because I thought that would be a little more visually interesting. And so I found one that I generally liked. I slapped it in there. The ghost of a small studio kitchen. There it is. I liked it. We drew a sketch on top of just the basic, you know, walls of a room. You know, we just like let that be our foundation, and then we built from there. And we said, you know, we were like, what are the things that are needed to make this a kitchen? And then what's like the fun set dressing? You know, we have a sink. How's she using the sink? We have a fridge. How is she using the fridge because of her age or where she is at life? These are the kind of things would be on the fridge. Like, you just let your brain play with the words that we've written down. And then we did the refined sketch on top, where we, again, it's a refined sketch. It doesn't mean it's straight to inks. It's just to let your brain say, okay, I really liked this idea. Let's draw it a little cleaner so that we know when we go to inks, we don't have to be measuring perspective. We don't have to be thinking about like, well, what's the angle? What's the construction of this thing? You could just like draw it in your style. If that makes any sense. But yeah, that's the end of the class. I hope that this was helpful for everyone. I hope that, you know, there were a lot of requests to do like background interiors. So I hope that this helped people be a little less overwhelmed by backgrounds. So yeah, I truly really love backgrounds because it feels the most like crafting a narrative. And I think it can be overwhelming, but I think like once you get your process down, then it's not so overwhelming anymore. But yeah, thank you so much again for being part of this draw class. I believe we're streaming on Monday if you're watching this live, but then next week is Thanksgiving, so we're not going to be in. That's why this class is a week earlier than normal. Next month, I believe draw class is by Karina. And then the Patreon bonus stream, like, I think will be like that first Friday. And then the draw class will be that second Friday because the team's going to be starting to go out on holiday vacations. So, but yeah, I'm sure that we'll announce her class really, really quickly. So thank you again, everyone who showed up. Really appreciate you being patrons and for being in this class live, because it is hard to talk to a room of no people. Not that that's happened so far, but you know what I'm saying. It's always a fear. But yeah, if you're American, happy Thanksgiving. Have a good holiday. Good, happy, safe holiday. And if you're not, just have a good, happy, safe rest of your month. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for being patrons. Goodbye.